Collins & Co. invite you to join us for our regular lunchtime not-for-profit seminars and workshops. In these sessions, guest speakers deliver expert knowledge on topics specifically catered for the not-for-profit sector. Sessions are held at Collins & Co. from 12 till 2 and lunch is provided. Contact Collins & Co. to find out the next seminar topic and to register.
Hey, my name is Steve Francis. I'm the Managing Director of Frontstream, Asia Pacific. We're experts in online and digital fundraising. And today I'm going to talk about the future of fundraising, digital, online fundraising, and some of the tools that small to medium-sized charities need if they're getting into the online fundraising space. Hi everyone, my name is Steve Francis. And I'm really happy to be here today to kind of talk to you about digital fundraising. Yes, I'm from a for-profit, but what I'll try to do today is give you a bit of an insight into some of the digital fundraising actually that's currently happening, but also a bit of an insight into the future where things are going, where some charities or not-for-profits can kind of maybe get a foothold into something new and sort of. Yeah, so I want to show you a little bit of the future and then show you a little bit about what we're doing. It won't be too salesy, so don't worry. My background, I actually worked in the charity sector myself for 20 years. My area was mainly policy, advocacy, strategy, government relations, community relations. So I was at the Centre for Multicultural Youth, which some of you know. We were chatting before. I was the policy director there with Carmel from 2011 to 2008. So we helped build the youth mentoring programs there, a whole range of different things, and that's an amazing organisation. Just keeps adapting and changing, and and I know it's got a big foothold in the West. So I also worked at Australian Red Cross. So I was there till 2013. I was the national manager for advocacy and Red Cross movement relations. So it was very much like policy, helped them with all their policy statements around homelessness and youth engagement and things like that. I wrote their youth engagement strategy, wrote their disability action plan, but also liaised with government around Geneva Conventions, the laws of war, IHL, that sort of thing, and then worked with the rest of the international movement around humanitarian diplomacy and advocacy. So it was a pretty cool and fun thing. I'm an anthropologist as well in my spare time. My mum's Tongan, so that's why I thought I better do fieldwork in Tonga. So that's I got to do that as part of my PhD, and that all tied into migration. So I was talking to Tongans about how do they perceive migration and what's their perspective on it, rather than Anglo geographers looking at islanders and going, oh, they go from here to Auckland and to Brisbane, and it's just for work. So it was much more about what's their perspective on it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the future before I then get to some of the tools particularly for small charities in terms of online fundraising. We've talked a little bit about what you're planning to do, but what I want to do is show you what we do and then end with a bit of enough time for questions. And I'm actually really happy to, knowing the online fundraising sector quite well, while I've got a particular bias, I'm actually quite open about, you can throw questions around other competitors and things like that, maybe other products you've experienced. I won't be bagging them. I'll be kind of going, all right, this is kind of where they sit compared to us, and can give you hopefully a fairly open conversation that way. Because I've done a similar presentation before, and it was all full of, so what do you think of Thank You CRM, Steve? And I'm happy to, knowing my obvious bias towards Frontstream, I can still give you some sort of insights anyway. So the first bit will be a little bit talky from me reading here, so forgive me for that, and then we'll be much more interactive soon. So so suffice to say, my team and I are very interested in digital and online fundraising and how it will impact on the fundraising campaigns of our clients and their charitable work. Everything I'll discuss today refers to what we know and have noticed through the interaction with our clients. In fact, some of my team are former fundraisers, and so they look after our clients, and I'm able to give insights to our clients around, might try that and maybe not that. So from within our own team, reports and discussions with experts, of course, and conferences. So tech development is half the story. How quickly it's picked up and absorbed by users is the real measure of how it will impact on individuals ways of work, and the global community. Given this, what is the future of digital and online fundraising, and what is best practice right now? To begin, let's focus on the future and how it will impact on our approach to online fundraising as we move through the next few years. It's because things are changing so quickly. So I wanted to touch on social, and we'll probably have more insights from this end of the room than from here, but I'm going to touch on a range of things that in our online fundraising at the moment we need to be quite on top of. So let's do a quick overview of social media. It wasn't that long ago that social media was simple to use and engaging for your audience. Should we be surprised that such enormous catchment of users are now being pummeled into submission by a mishmash of news, cat LOLs and big budget ads? Social's rapid growth and immersion has replied with a massive, almost overwhelming ocean of information. Facebook is still king, but we kind of get a feeling that things are changing with Facebook in terms of with the increasing weight placed on paid boosts, not to mention the ever-changing algorithms that are kind of channeling particular types of information to us. We obviously can't walk away from Facebook at the moment, though. It's been reported that most people who use Twitter are just looking and not commenting, retweeting or sharing. So it's near impossible to measure the absolute impact of Twitter campaigns in a way. As a rule, Twitter tends to work well for live events more than commercial campaigns. I'm happy to be corrected, but it's also a favoured space for journalists looking for a breaking news story. Have you started to notice that? It's like really faux news where they're reporting on Twitter, on tweets. It's kind of, I find that I turn it off straight away. Mm-hmm. Instagram has been monetised, but it's hard work for commercial application outside of product sales. So I haven't really seen Instagram used too well yet in the online fundraising world, but maybe that's going to change. There's an opportunity there. Snapchat is growing in reach, particularly as we know with a younger audience, but still seemingly an imperfect campaign platform for our sector. YouTube is another tool that has been used and misused. While it remains a fantastic platform to host all your campaign videos and cause-related asks, the recent controversy of the last few weeks in which major retailers and producers have suspended their ad campaigns with Google and YouTube signals that some caution and awareness is always required in this space. The controversy relates to the fact that these big advertisers have had some of their videos auto-placed next to racist and bigoted video rants. So in a way it's become too big to control. It can be a minefield. However, we can only learn on what is proven. Good content is king, along with audience segmentation and content personalisation for every audience segment. So, and I'll talk about big data a little bit in a minute. So it's about really knowing your audience right down to a very nth degree, which is the tools that we have at our disposal these days. It's more work for the digital marketing team. However, making more personal and less generic content gets results in your fundraising. I'll explain on this later when I talk about data. So I was going to ask, a show of hands, which social platform can you see yourself investing in most over the next few years? Perhaps just generally in your organisation. Facebook, probably the biggest, yeah. Twitter, anyone using, yeah?
We've got 2 Twitter accounts and
right.
We've got quite a number of followers, so we do.
Yeah, so it's a good way to get information out.
Yeah.
What about Instagram, anyone?
We've just started Instagram.
Yeah. How are you finding that?
We're going to build it, but we're using it as more of a community engagement approach.
Right, okay. What's your perspective?
Yeah, building brand awareness.
Yep.
I mean, you can direct your community to blog content if you want to drive traffic to your website.
Yep.
But they don't make it easy for you. You've got to put in the bio and
Yep.
direct them to the bio. So,
Yep.
But yeah, no, there's definitely indirect ways.
Methods for...
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'll just touch on this. Basically, referencing the Ericsson Mobility Report, which comes out every 6 months, so you can have a look if you're wanting to kind of get on top of the trends in mobile. But we really know their sector. They know their sector and have access to enough data to solidly predict trends. If you want to look over the report yourself, it's released twice a year for free. So worldwide mobile subscriptions. They're forecasting by 2022 8.9 million, which is a year-on-year increase of 2%, which actually says maybe a bit of saturation around just mobiles themselves. Probably the more interesting one is around smartphone. The growth there will be 2022, they're saying 6.8 million, sorry, hang on, that would be almost billion, wouldn't it? Yeah, 6.8 billion, which is a year-on-year increase of 10%, which is probably far more significant, which is, I suppose, as in developing countries, it's going to be more access to better services and that sort of thing. So in addition, by 2018, 33% of the global population is expected to be using social media, or 2.44 billion users. And alongside increased mobile subscriptions comes an increase in email accounts created. So email is alive and increasingly accessed on mobile as opposed to desktops. And it's also always good to think that social only launched 10 or 11 years ago. Facebook, I think, has just turned 11. So it has transformed our lives. It is continuing to do so, and everything is migrating to mobile. So what does this tell us about future online user behaviour? Well, the potential impact of this research suggests that, as we suspected, the world's going mobile at a faster rate, particularly in developing nations. From a business perspective, we have reorientated all our future product development for our platforms towards mobile users. We're already finding with World's Greatest Shave, for example, it's just been going up 10 to 15% each year of people migrating from accessing their World's Greatest Shave page, making donations. It's over 50% now. I think when we were talking to them last week, it's something like 55% will access World's Greatest Shave via mobile on their way home from work or whatever than desktop. More email accounts are being created and emails are being accessed on mobiles. So a renewed focus on mobile optimised electronic, EDMs, in your campaign is a good idea. And of course, mobile responsive pages are set to be the new norm, leaving mobile optimised as a poor second choice. So we're making sure we update all our pages so they're responsive on mobile now. More and more people around the world have access to mobile devices, especially smartphones, and using more functionality. We all know that phones are not phones anymore, and in general, people are using their phones less for talking and more as their personal PC. And campaigns need to reflect this through mobile optimisation and focusing on what channels their audience spends time on, and then mimic that. So you need to be platform savvy, or else. As more people use mobile apps and platforms and they spend more time on their devices, they become more savvy as to the content being funneled into each channel. We therefore need to keep pushing the creative boundaries to engage audiences and create impact. So I'll lightly touch on this as it's indirectly related to our topic. So when the World Economic Forum asked global HR decision makers for their lists of big areas for future advances, some 44% pointed to new technologies enabling remote working, co-working spaces and teleconferencing as the principal drivers of change. Advances in mobile and cloud technology allowing remote and instant access were singled out as the most important technological driver of change. Supporting the rapid spread of internet-based ways of working, the virtual office is something we are all starting to notice and experience in our working lives. Other items on the list of note include the impact of big data and the Internet of Things, both of which we see as key growth areas that will impact on fundraising and the charity sector more and more. Other items on the list we are currently dealing with include crowdsourcing and consumer concerns over privacy and governance. Okay, I thought I'd show you a little bit of virtual reality, VR, and how it's been used in fundraising. So again, I'm sort of taking you right out here and then I'll bring you right back to reality as we finish up today. So virtual reality offers a new way of storytelling in campaigns, altering the experience for potential donors in a more impactful way than ever before. Some not-for-profits are investing in VR campaigns already and using them as part of their fundraising campaign mix. For example, I've read articles talking about US-based charity Water and Pencils of Promise, and I'll show you both a little bit of that VR from them, both investing funds into creating VR video campaigns. The estimates for a VR campaign, now I've actually costed a VR campaign with a local Melbourne VR producer. They told me it's a bit like production values in video and stuff like that. If it depends how much you spend. They like you to spend a lot, but they did tell me that you can spend $10,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 on a VR campaign and get a very good quality campaign out of that. They said they, and obviously if they're working with BMW and others, it's up to 50 or more. But yeah, that was an interesting conversation in terms of he's starting to talk to non-profits around, and some of the bigger ones obviously to start with, around VR campaigns.
Steve, what sort of content are they creating?
Yeah, well, I'm going to show you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to show you an example. Both charities aired their VR videos at a black tie gala, handing their guests VR headsets and offering them an immersive experience, explaining their cause and demonstrating impact. At both events, they understandably ran the call for donations after the video was watched, and both reported higher than expected results. So just from the charity Water one, the guy that actually put the video together said you could hear a pin drop. I was wandering around watching people watch it. There was this one guy who just flew out of his seat and said, "Honey, honey, turn around." And he was talking out loud to his wife. And there were others who would reach out for their spouse or would grab their hands, and I would know that they were in the film because all of a sudden there would be cheering when they hit water. I saw people take their headsets off with tears in their eyes. Later that night, donors committed to giving $2.4 million, much more than Charity Water had expected. That was the first time, but not the last, the filmmaker said. So let's show you what it looks like.
If I could live without this water, I would. I think the animals feel the same way. Sometimes my father comes to collect water with me. He has many responsibilities and usually cannot help me because of his work.
So you get the idea.
When he helps, I can get myself
Yeah,
full of.
very immersive.
He also tells me that if I study very well, good things will come to me in my future. I believe.
So when you got on the headset, you're just doing.
A year ago, my mother passed away. So I take care of my brother and sister. I'm
Okay.
now there.
So you get the idea?
Yeah.
Cool. So, and it was a same outcome for Pencils of Promise as well. They did really well. Amnesty UK, UNICEF, Canada, and a handful of other international not-for-profits have created successful campaigns over the last 18 months. And this is set to increase as the spread of cardboard VR devices. You know, I believe, you know, you can get them up for up to $10 each. So you could, if you're doing a gala ball and you have something like this, you could just include it in the price of the ticket.
So they always use the gala balls and things like that.
It tends to be so far, but I'm sure there are innovative ways.
Face-to-face on the street.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, in their face-to-face campaigns. Okay. So then it's like, yeah,
On the street, yeah.
with the chuggers. Yeah. Very effective form of fundraising.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely, it's an increasing area. I know we're mainly small organisations here, but are there any people that would consider doing a VR campaign? Any Crime Stoppers?
There is a more affordable option,
Yep.
which is augmented reality,
Yep.
which is taking video, footage, film, whatever you want, and actually putting it inside a printed publication. So then you actually can do a hard copy mail out to supporters.
Right.
They then just download the app and then they're taken inside the experience. So whether that be a tour of your program, tour of premises,
Yep.
video interviews, whatever the case might be. We're just looking at it at the moment.
Yep.
It looks like setup costs are about $1,000 to create the platform to store everything in, It's about $100 per experience that you create within the platform.
Yep.
And then there's printing built into that as well. So yeah, so it's
Okay.
actually much more affordable and probably a lot more accessible in some ways than the
The VR.
VR
What would you
experience.
call
Yeah.
that, sorry?
It's called Augmented Reality.
Cool.
That integrates print and video. So you can do animation, you can do slideshows, whatever.
So you've got my details. So if you do contact me, I can pass on to Michael, or the Sky's Design brochure there too, if you're interested in finding out more. That's cool. Internet of Things. So currently mobile phones are the most multi-purpose devices in the world. However, by 2020, this will be surpassed by the Internet of Things. Devices that fall into this category include connected cars, machinery, power utility meters, consumer electronics such as fridges, air conditioning and home security. And so the Internet of Things could impact fundraising campaigns and demand further optimization. So consider this. One of my favourite illustrations of Internet of Things is the fridge and its impact. So a fridge is open and it informs you that it's time to buy milk. Press here to order more milk, and by the way, how about matching that purchase with a donation to Care Australia to help feed a hungry child in Sudan? This is an example of what the Internet of Things could present for a future on the brink of wholly connected goods, which is also really scary. Partnerships will be made between charities and corporate brands who make connected goods. Stronger relationships between the corporate world and philanthropy will evolve as we work together to raise money and advocate for the good fight. Big data. So this is going to be also very important for charities to be across. What about all the data? With renewed emphasis on data collection, more than ever, we need to look at our audience data. Analytics and data analysis is a skill now required of content marketers. Firstly, we need to collect as much detail as possible, drill down into segments, then highly personalise the marketing material for each segment. Data analysis is important to inform content briefs effectively. This is something we've always known, but it's changed. Now, due to savvy users and content saturation, you should be creating multiple campaigns for every audience segment to maximise engagement. It's like creating 10 different pieces of content for each parallel world your donors live in. However, piles of data are the digital advantage all content marketers have when creating varied, impactful calls to action. So, if we summarise the future stuff, get creative and adapt to new audience demands and the creative that tech enables. Tailor your content to segmented audiences. Use all the data, find your audiences and create content just for them. It's all about personalising the experience for your supporters. Consider product partnerships, such as the Internet of Things offers, or things like mobile wallet. Opportunities not witnessed before for partnership. This further ties into the idea of more opportunities for donations at point of sale. Be open-minded about what we don't know, meaning the impact of other tech we've talked about, such as driverless cars and robotics and things like that, can have an impact on user behaviour. So let's bring it back to getting started in digital, or kind of where we're at the moment. So some of the things that we've already talked about is, dipping your toe in the water is donation pages. Particularly, everyone should have a donation page online. Regular giving as well. That should be the basic. That's the gold, of course, in online fundraising. Regular giving, monthly donations. Appeals are a good way to start growing your database. It's a bit like marketing in general, isn't it? You need to grow your list of people you're engaging with. Community fundraising as well. I'll demonstrate these things through some of our products. So community fundraising is a really good way of engaging with your supporters and participants. So the way I define community fundraising is when groups come to you and say, we want to raise money for you. We don't want to do your big walk or whatever, but give us how can we give you the money? How can we share what we're doing? So I'll talk to you a little bit about that. A CRM, or a donor management database, needs to be the core of whatever you're doing around fundraising. Sometimes, unfortunately, the fundraising teams get subsumed into the broader needs of the organisation, and so they're forced to use really huge databases that might not be tailored very well for fundraising, like Salesforce or things like that. We do have a CRM that relates more for small to medium-sized charities. And auctions as well. Online auctions are increasingly a good way to get started. And also, as you mentioned before, third-party fundraising as well. So, Melbourne, Run for Melbourne, or those sorts of things are a good way. But the only thing is, if you don't have a very strong brand, you get a little bit diluted in, people fundraising for the big charities like Oxfam or whatever. So I'll talk to you a little bit about what we do, and then leave it open for us to kind of have a conversation about what your needs are and whether we can help. So Frontstream, we have a number of products which we've integrated together. So firstly, Artez, that's our peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer meaning I'm going to shave my head. I want my peers to sponsor me, friends, family, colleagues. With Artez, that's our fundraising platform, peer-to-peer, donation pages, regular giving, that sort of thing. GiftWorks is our CRM, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that in a minute. Bidding for Good is our online auction platform. And Truist is a workplace giving platform, which I can talk to you a little bit about. We're starting to talk to, in the charity space, we're mainly talking to very large charities around, they've got corporate partners already, and they want to be able to have their employees, the corporates have their employees give to the charity of their choice. Increasingly, it's important that, especially with millennials in corporations, that they get to choose who they want to donate to. It's about personalising it much more. Corporates are starting to realise that, yes, while they have got their pet CSR kind of charity that they're focusing on, they need to enable particularly their younger employees, or actually generally many of their employees, the chance to kind of select a charity that's most meaningful to them, because they will donate more. It's still very early days in workplace giving in Australia. In the States, it's just so prevalent. The penetration here is like 5% of workplaces, probably less, whereas in the States it's like 50%. We've got to make it easy for charities, and this is again for small charities, this is good. We've actually integrated all those products into one platform called Panorama. We just released it last week in the States. We're releasing it here in about a month. What it does is, you might have bought just our CRM and maybe a donation page. So you'll be able to access those through the portal, and if you want to try some of our other products, they're free. So you can have a free version of our other products to see if it works for you. What's interesting about this is, so that when you have donors that donate to you, often charities have bought product here, product there, Everyday Hero over here, thank you CRM there. Whenever their participants or donors touch them, it creates a separate record. With us, we've got the whole suite of online fundraising. If they donate at an auction, or they give you a donation through a donation page, it will create one donor ID, and you'll be able to, as a charity, track their whole journey of giving with you. You'll be able to tailor communication especially for them, automate a lot of communication within the system. So for small charities, save a lot of time, and you're not duplicating things and purchasing lots of different things. So this is a bit of a revolution in online fundraising, in the sense that, I won't get too salesy, it doesn't exist anywhere else yet. So that's why we're pretty excited this year to launch that. So basically it just brings all our products together, integrated with a data warehouse in the back. So just some quick examples of Artez, so World's Greatest Shave. And what we do, we create the registration process, the donation process, generate fundraising page. New Zealand clients, leukemia and blood cancer, they do a firefighter Sky Tower Stair Challenge, hugely successful event. That's one where all the firefighters sign up for. It's sold out in 10 minutes because they've limited it, and they've said you've got to raise a certain amount. So there's another, for small organisations, you can do things like, we've got one called Boss Boot Camp or something, a CEO kind of challenge. You can have limited numbers but make them raise a lot of money. It's a more effective way. So you don't have to, especially for small organisation, mass participation is a bit difficult. So you might want to do a much more focused one. So Firefighter Sky Tower Stair Challenge is a good one. I think there's only 40 places. And it sells out all over the world now. They're trying to get to this one. Smith Family Around the Bay, cycling event. It's been 25th anniversary this year, I think. So that's been very successful. Legacy just started with us. They've got a couple of events. There's something at Anzac Day, of course. That's the Boss Boot Camp. We've done a lot with the Cancer Council over the years. So Girls Night In is a really successful example of doing that market segmentation and going, how can we engage with particularly women who do donate to us a lot, but they might be over the Australia's Biggest Morning Tea, or they might have done Relay for Life. What can they do? So Girls Night In was really based on market research. Light the Night is another one where Leukemia Foundation said, so everyone's done the shave, but what's a family event we can create? So Light the Night is where people walking with families with lanterns, and it's just another way of walking in shoes. We've been doing that with CARE for 6 years now. And the idea of it is aligning your event with your cause. So Leukemia Foundation Was Go Shave really makes sense because it's giving the participants an insight. Similarly here, it's over a month you've got to walk 50 kilometres, and it kind of mirrors daily walking of young women to collect water in villages and things like that. So that's always good if you can kind of align your peer-to-peer event with. This is a virtual challenge. So if you might not be able to, maybe doing all that organisation of a mass event, another way to do it is do a virtual event. So this is something that Royal Flying Doctors have just launched. It's kind of climbing virtual stairs. Yeah. Well, you're walking, actually, because they've just launched it, I haven't done it yet, so I better find out how to do it. Making me look silly here, but yeah. How does a virtual cloud climb work? I better find out more.
Don't tweet about it.
Yeah, no, I won't tweet about it. Well, because it's only launched, maybe I've got still time to join up and check it out. This is a good example where Salvation Army, they've got their Be a Superhero event, and they'd done no peer-to-peer when they came to us. So a couple of years ago, we just did that in-house for them, that version. And then as the success of it grew, they then created a really schmicko kind of microsite and that sort of thing. So they skinned the pages to make it look better than our basic template. Community fundraising is another one. So I know these are big organisations, but people like Cancer Council and the Community Foundation have groups coming to them saying, we want to do something, but we don't want to do shave or whatever. So they created one where they've put all of their third-party fundraising. This is a microsite. They created, so the Colour Run, Ride Melbourne, etc., etc. And this first one is our platform. So if you click that one, it comes onto our platform and they can register and create a page to share with their friends and family. So one of the differences, why we have a lot of charities on our books is because we don't put our brand on anything. We're what we call the white label. So there's no Frontstream on any pages. Whereas you might find with some of the competitors, they're still good products, but like Everyday Hero, for example, you'll find Everyday Hero all over it. And they also will, I won't say spam, they'll contact all your participants and donors fairly regularly, incessantly via email, whereas we don't, we're kind of just facilitating this to happen. So a bit of a difference with us. Do It for Cancer is probably the most famous community fundraising online, I mean. So they've suggested a number of things that people can do, work, race, cook, or anything. So basically our platform allows you to kind of generate a page and then remit the money. We find with peer-to-peer, teams raise more money, obviously, than they kind of egg each other on than individuals. So we've got a lot of team functionality, corporate teams, families, that sort of thing. So, and we can also do multiple locations. So some of our sort of federated charities, they might do events in each state and territory, so we can handle that. And that's what a fundraising page looks like with us. So you've got your thermometer, you can upload videos and that sort of thing. Get sponsors, there's a lot of help for getting sponsors, like download your Gmail or your Outlook addresses and out you go. Also, we've got a Facebook app so that people can kind of share their page on Facebook, puts it on their timeline, and then, so then friends and family, it'll take them back to the fundraising page. And they also can recruit friends and things like that, really important. And we've some of our donation pages, so single gift, regular giving, so the monthly giving, have a little photo on the caption. We've got a little, I like to say this, algorithm, because it sounds really kind of cool and googly, but an algorithm that actually sees how much money is coming in terms of donations, and it kind of automatically starts to bump it up. Because people kind of go, oh, how much are most people donating? Oh, it's about 50 is what they expect. So it's kind of like there's an expectation in the numbers you present for your regular giving. And appeals as well. So we've done some appeal pages with like Canadian Red Cross. We have tribute giving as well, so e-cards or giving in honour of or in memory of someone. We've got merchandise templates and things like that as well. Virtual giving, so it's like buy a goat for the village. GiftWorks is our database, so basically with our database it's a cloud one, unlimited records, just depends on how many users. So with small charities, 1 or 2 users, it's about 150 a month, something like that. So it's really for that smaller. Some of you, if you've been in larger organisations, would have experienced like Razor's Edge and Salesforce, which are much bigger. You need a lot of training in. So we've really designed to make it intuitive, easy to use. And I do recommend, even if you have just a donation page and you're starting to get into online fundraising, get a CRM as soon as possible. Because the number of clients we've had with all these hundreds of pages on Excel that we've had to do a lot of work to wash and put into the CRM. Whereas if you've got a CRM, you can do things like it's linked to MailChimp. You can do marketing campaigns. You can really identify who are your best supporters. And hey, Revolution, ring them and say how much that so all that stuff of the donor journey that you've probably heard about in fundraising, where you really need to keep your supporters really engaged in what is the work you're doing, how are they impacting on it, keeping them updated on the impact of their donations in terms of your work and your important work. So that donor journey is just so important. You can't really do it very well if you haven't got a CRM, because if you've got a CRM, then you can go, oh, who are our top 10 fundraisers? We need to, well, actually you should bring all your fundraisers, by the way. Really important, because that's where you really will increase exponentially the amount that you raise. And did I say that peer-to-peer events are a really good way to really vastly expand? It's good for brand, but it's also good for, suddenly you've got an influx of a couple of hundred email addresses and people that you can start to engage with around regular giving and other things, or being involved in as volunteers or other things that are associated. There is a bit of a thing with peer-to-peer though that I won't say it's just you're going to harvest all these supporters, because also some people just do peer-to-peer events because they love to do the event and then they go, that's enough. So there's a skill again around how do you engage. CRM is crucial to that. Auction platform. So if you're doing gala events, or if you just have an auction, you might want to do an online auction. So with that, we give you a page. You can actually have the event details. They can buy a ticket, and then it registers them to bid. And then on the night, you might have an auctioneer, or you might just have it as a silent one saying, here are all the things that we've got on offer. We also have consignment, like memorabilia and stuff that you can choose. Reasonably, so that you guys do all right out of it. So that our auction platform is actually the largest in the world. We've raised, it's actually 340 million raised on Bidding for Good. And you can do mobile bidding and stuff on the night. Everything's online, leaderboards, etc. Yeah, okay. So that's enough about, hopefully that wasn't too much on Frontstream, but at least you have an idea of what we do. so it's happy to have some questions and maybe some sharing of information with each other. I'm not the only expert in the room, but are there any questions on some of the stuff we've talked about? So,
can you talk a bit more about your the big data and and accessing the data and where you can do that cheaply and how you can segment it cheaply?
Yeah, that's a big question because I don't think that the whole idea of big data has really seeped into how it's not very accessible still. The only thing I can say is when I was asked this question before, I kind of say, well, practice within your own organisation by making sure that you've got a CRM, whether it's a donor management database or a CRM that's really you're in charge of your own information, because often I'm staggered at even really huge charities that have no idea about how they're engaging with people. They have no tracking of that. So I would say, especially if we're talking fundraising, I would get, it doesn't have to be ours, but I would get a basic CRM to start with that is cloud-based, that is easy, because the segmentation happens by you plug in you've got all the details in there, you plug in your parameters and it'll bring up those, who are our major givers, who gave most regularly, who gave most recently, what segment into age, so you can do all of that in a good CRM. With ours, what we've done is we've integrated, so if you have one of our donation pages, it puts that information into the CRM automatically. So, or if you've got, so that's our kind of point of difference. So, having said that, there are probably a couple of others in our category of smaller to medium charities use, like eTapestry and things like that. When you're getting bigger, Salesforce and Razor's Edge are the really big ones. And as a result, so with Artez, we've built an API that plugs into Salesforce and plugs into Razor's Edge, because when we're dealing with the really big charities like Cancer Council, they're the ones that they're using. So we're kind of adapted to those as well. So big data, I don't think is very accessible to us yet. It's probably more of a practice with your own CRM first.
Yeah. Steve, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Steve, how do you manage donors at the moment?
Yeah, pages of Excel.
I saw him laugh when
Of Excel spreadsheets?
Yeah, really badly.
Yeah.
That's how we manage our
Which
donors.
is not uncommon, and at least you've got something. Yeah, I think Steve touched on a good point. Who's the top 10% of givers that you've got at the moment? What do you know about them? That's the other really critical information. What's their relationship to you? Why do they have that relationship? How do they find you? Have they referred anybody else? So have they brought in anybody else who's become a good donor? Those kinds of questions will allow you to then think about, if this is our top 10 or 15% of donors, how do we then find more people like them? So having some kind of way of breaking your donor base up between top 15%, 15 to 30, 30 to 60 and the bottom 40 will then allow you to develop strategies for going and finding more of those people and understanding what their motivations are. But yeah, look, having an Excel spreadsheet is still better than nothing, and a lot of organisations still have nothing.
And you might have divided up your demographics of your supporters, and it might be 10 basic types, and you might have 10 case studies of your work tailored to each of those types. So things like that. We're basic market research by having some focus groups with your supporters, or have a sausage sizzle day and you bring them together and ask them questions so you can really get more targeted about, and then you can create campaigns which are, so if someone signs up or makes a donation, you've got ready automated in your CRM 10 emails really nicely crafted for that demographic with some case studies. And there's the ask might be in various places. Anyway, you're the experts on that side of things, but you know what I mean, like much more specific campaigning.
Two questions about security. So one is from the being able to be hacked perspective, and the other one is the internal security to make sure that money's going into the right accounts and that can't be manipulated.
We've got a good solution by that for that, in that we don't touch the money. So we're a PCI level 1 compliant company, so that means auditing all the time. But what we've done is we've integrated our platform with a number of payment gateways. So our clients sign up to the gateway. Therefore, the money, when it's donated, goes through the platform directly into the bank account of the nominated bank account. So we actually, yeah, with Stripe, PayStream, SecurePay, PayPal, Braintree. So that means we don't touch the money. So therefore, we're any Everyday Hero, whoever you use, they would just they'll generally be PCI level 1 compliant, but that's what you're looking for, which is bank level security.
And what about from a hacking perspective?
Yeah. So again, with the Artes data, and with the CRM data, we have like security walls for all of that. It's part of our compliance procedure. So we do have a lot of clients that say, give us the details. So I actually give them our PCI compliant document and the things that we do to protect the data as best we can. We haven't had any breach yet. But important question. Increasingly, especially with the Australian Charities Commission, they're wanting to make sure that everyone's compliant, and governance is becoming more and more of an issue in charities.
How are you finding small organisations use the platform? Because I know we've done work with some clients who would class as very small, and their use is limited. Do you find that they're only using it for campaign-specific information and not?
Our platform, our clients tend to be, if they're really, really small, they tend to be CRM plus a donation page or a regular giving page. And what we do is hopefully we work with them as they evolve. They then start to dip their toe into, a small peer-to-peer event. They might do third-party events to begin with, and they find that's expensive. They get a little bit, but it's not very, if you don't have a big brand, it's very hard. So then they try a little peer-to-peer or something like that. So we kind of tend to grow with them in their online strategy. Of course, there are many ways of fundraising, so online's just one.
And I hope I'm sort of stealing time. How many clients come to you to want to use the platform but have no strategy and have no marketing plan for what they're actually going to do?
Yeah, so I would only put that in the small, medium-sized charities as well. So we do have, some clients are people that have done their peer-to-peer events. They're raising $500 to $1 million with their peer-to-peer. So they're quite experienced and they're wanting more flexibility with what they're doing. So that's one kind of client for us. So they're kind of going from Go Fundraise or Everyday Hero to us because we're more enterprise, more things that we can do. If it's smaller charities, generally, it really depends if they've got trained and experienced fundraisers in their organisations. So generally, if you don't have one in your organisation, I encourage small charities have one on your board to then inform a strategy, because generally not usually much of a strategy unless they've got a experienced fundraiser in their midst. And then it's up to, I always say, it's up to the CEO. Really support your fundraisers because they're going to be under the pump from boards and from, I'm hoping that's why I like to talk to CEOs so they can kind of get more of an understanding of fundraising and the difficulty of it. And there are many strategies, but it's usually if the CEO is behind the fundraiser, then you're going to have some successful outcomes. And I know there's a lot of actual consultants that work with CEOs and boards around fundraising, which makes them a lot more comfortable about the strategy. So, you and I know someone that works with small charities. So again, happy to share Erica from Exponential. She's working to make fundraising strategies with small non-profits. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Do you want to talk about e-tapestry, which is the comparison?
Yeah, so e-tapestry has been going for a long time. So some people love it because they swear by it, they know it inside and out. So it's probably more of an old school, very reliable, functional, a good one for small charities. So we're probably in the same sort of mix. I can say now that because we've just put GiftWorks into the cloud, so we've it's enable us to make the user interface even easier and more intuitive. So, but I'd put us sort of in the same category. Then sometimes it just comes down to price. Sometimes it's a starter place anyway. So if people went with these Tapestry, it's a good one.
What are you classifying as a small charity?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sorry, I've got this concept in my head. So large charities in our area tend to be people that are doing, $1 million peer-to-peer fundraising events. They're the kind of the name charities, the tier ones. Then for us, fundraisers that are making sort of up to $10 million in the middle category. So like with World's Greatest Shave, they make $18 million from that one event. So that's definitely in the tier one. Up to 10 million is middle, and then between 1 million and 10 million fundraised is what I call middle, and then fundraising from 0 to 1 million is what I call small. Yeah. I don't know. It's in my head.
But that matches to the ACNC figures and some other research
I think
that shows 1% of charities take, I think, 80% of the
it's true.
fundraising dollar.
Yeah. So they're about in terms of charities with DGR status, there are 56,000, something like that. And of those, about 5,000 of them are the tier one charities that take most of the money because they've got the recognition, and then it's the rest struggling. But again, it's about intelligently leveraging your supporters and encouraging them as the base to kind of get out to their friends and family and colleagues. And that's all about your cause and how you're impacting on and doing good work. So it's a communications and marketing thing.
Have you got any advice for donation pages and websites?
Yes, keep it.
It's a broad question.
Yeah, it is a broad question, but I think it's sometimes they get a bit overcomplicated. I think the more simple, the better. So, so I think just the less. I think people try to pack so much into a lot of them. So then it's like scroll down. Yeah. No, just keep it. Big buttons. Exactly.
And I'm serious. We saw some research last year that they did some testing on their donate button. Normal, same size button, one with lower capitals, the small caps, and one with large caps. 30% more traffic to the large donate now button. Yeah.
And in a similar sense, in peer-to-peer, Dave Sims from World's Greatest Shave, he's the greatest innovator because he's been doing that since 2007. And that event just consistently earns between 18 and $20 million. It's because he looks at his metrics all the time. He always does focus groups and all that sort of thing afterwards. But also he's trying to innovate all the time. So what he's done is, if you've ever done a peer-to-peer event, often you'll find there's like registration. It's like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages. Click, 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 click. He's using our API, one of our APIs. He's created a 1-page registration page. And he just said the conversion from just having the 1 page through the roof. And then he was tweaking just words on there and things like that. So, yeah, simple. And also, I mean, with us, so say you've integrated with a payment gateway, when they click on it, also they need to feel like they're in your environment. So sometimes you can go with cheaper fundraising page solutions where it might even be free, but there's a percentage or whatever. But it might have branding all over it, and that can be really put off, particularly older donors. They'll click and they come onto a page that doesn't look anything like. So you've got to make sure that you kind of skin the pages to look similar. So with us, that's part of what we do. We make sure that the page looks like they've clicked on donate on the home page, they come onto our page because they need to be on our secure PCI level 1 compliant page. We need to make sure it looks very similar so that there's not this jolt. And you'll find on some donation pages it's like, whoa, now I'm on PayPal. PayPal's not too bad because people know it, but Give Now or something like that, and then there's like oodles of screens to fill out. That's what kills donations. Yeah.
I was just thinking about a charity that I give to called Edgar's Mission, which
Yeah,
is at Lancefield, and it's a farm for rescued farm animals, right? So a lot of people would go, oh, they're just farm animals, who cares?
Yeah.
But they, get ones that have been abused and about to be killed or whatever. So that in itself is just a little farm, but what they do is they tell stories, and so it's all volunteer. She's got no paid staff at all, and somebody's telling the story constantly on social media. And at the bottom of every Facebook post, it'll just have a little donate now or something, and it's really easy. You just go straight in. You go, oh, they need $15 for a bale of hay. There's $15. So it just can happen as quickly.
It's so
as
immediate.
that. But also that there were tens of thousands of followers on Facebook, so they'll just put something up saying, it's a year ago today since this little piglet got rescued, and have a look at it now, kind of thing. So they tell a story at the same time, and I think that's, if I look at, I've been around long enough to see a lot of these brands actually build themselves up, and the reason that they're well known now is not because of medical research or anything else, it's because of the stories they've told along the way. So Refugee Legal Service or whatever, it's those stories that people start to believe, start to see their money going to.
That's right, exactly. Another good example like that is a very small organisation called St Kilda Mums. If you go to their Facebook page, they are just they do that too. They're just so engaged with all of their supporters, and they're just like, there's so much interaction, and they've actually one of the few that have managed to leverage that into fundraising, because often people find it hard to get your supporters in Facebook into fundraising mode. So that's a similar example.
And that it can be done with volunteers. It doesn't have to take staff to do
I think they've got
that.
2 paid staff as well. And
actually, there's one more thing I can just say with that. A friend of mine has started a website called Volley, which provides which is a platform for people to do project-based volunteering work, so they never actually have to come in to the organisation. They can do it online, so it's things like social media strategies or marketing strategies, and a lot of them work in corporations, and they're wanting to do this outside of hours. So it's VOLLIE.com or .com. Sorry?
They just released that.
Yeah, just maybe a
couple of weeks ago.
Awesome.
Sorry. Just picking up on Igor's mission, are you finding less people doing crowdfunding and moving towards peer-to-peer? Because crowdfunding takes a whole lot of work.
Yeah, I think I always talk about crowdfunding as kind of parallel to what we do. Crowdfunding does take a shed load of work to kind of what things can people get if they give to you, and all those sorts of things have started to put charities off. I think a lot of them jumped in, and yes, it's a good way, but it tends to be more of it's not tax deductible either, I'm pretty sure, crowdfunding. So
what about the crowdfunding platforms? Have you had any experience?
what we ended up doing is we used some of our APIs to be the back end of some of those crowdfunding. So we would distribute the money from the project to the charity, to a little bit for Indiegogo, for example, but we kind of we stayed out of it now. It's kind of like this parallel industry, but it's sort of morphing more into commercial or into artistic projects or one-off projects. So it kind of we're not really in that space particularly. Not that it's a bad space, but I think Michael put the nail on the head in that. I think for fundraisers they've raised some through it, but it's a hell of a lot of work compared to other forms of fundraising.
I've heard conflicting views about PayPal. Some people, a major fundraiser, a group from a fundraiser for a major group, and they used PayPal, but they and another person says, "But you got any views about?"
Oh, we've kind of only in that we have some clients that say they want PayPal, so we offer it, but we're tending not to use them so much either. They bought a company called Braintree, which is a payment gateway which has a lot more usability and functionality. So like when Apple Pay comes in and things like that, it can take payments off phones and things like that. So one of the things that we're looking at is with our workplace giving platform, enabling charities to receive funds when someone has a haircut or something and they're paying their bill, and maybe they're paying on their mobile, and be able to press for a donation as well, things like that. And Braintree will enable that. But we don't have a particular thing about PayPal. No, they're just a gateway. They take a percentage. So a lot of charities don't like that aspect of it. So, and we haven't heard anything particularly bad about them though. That's looking like we might be winding up. I just want to say I've given you my card. If you want to touch base, ask any more questions, or if you want me to send you to some other people to talk to as well, all good. Thanks guys.
Thank you. A round of applause.